on up. We'll get them to sign in while we're here. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. I'm glad that you got the information and you're able to participate today. My name's Mary Dodsworth. I'm the Parks and Recreation and Community Services Director for the City of Lakewood. And so I want to introduce a few folks that are here. You can all introduce yourselves if you like. In fact, why don't we do a quick one since there's not a lot of us here. What I'd like to do is have you introduce yourself, and if you're a neighbor, you can tell us, and then there's some park board people here too. So why don't we start here and go around this way and we'll come on back.
Thanks. Greetings. Good morning, everybody. My name is David de la Cruz, Parks Capital Project Manager. Work closely with our director here and look forward to hearing from you all and developing this site to something that really suits your needs. So
I'm Mike Arkell, my wife Sherry, right behind me,
Hi, Sam.
and we live just around the corner on Hippins.
Great. Good. Thank you.
John Crable, I'm a Oakland Lake resident.
Good. Hi.
Anita Crable.
Hi, Anita. Nice to see you. And we're going to have you sign in, folks, too, that we mostly get your email so we can keep you updated on what's going on.
Mike introduced me, but I want to say that I'm on the committee for the Port Stoughton Neighborhood Association.
Oh, good.
That will be this area.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Great. And Anita, right?
I'm
You're Anita.
Sharon.
Sherry. Thank you.
Kate Reed, I'm on the Parks Advisory Board. Yes, I am on the Parks Advisory Board, and I brought my sample children.
Jason Gerwin, Parks and Rec Advisory Board. We don't have that.
And Deanna Jackson.
Right, baby.
Thank you.
Mike Meeks. John and I are old friends.
Good.
I grew up in this house here, about 2 blocks over, and came back to Roost.
Good. Welcome.
Charlie Theo on the advisory board. Mark Smith.
You did a great part.
Dan Dobler, I live across the street from Mike, over 3 houses down.
Hi.
And Jessica, right here.
Oh, yeah. And then we have 2 ladies that just showed up. Hi.
Hi, Sandy Johnson. I grew up over on River Street. All my life, and we bought a house on the other side of the river.
Oh.
34 years.
Good. Thank you.
I'm Sunny, and I lived, Sunny Harmon down the lake a little ways, and I lived on the lake for 65.
Oh, wow. Great. We're sometime today, if we could get you to sign in just so we can get your email again, and that way we can send you any updates on what's going on. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about what we're going to do today so everybody knows what's happening. So we'll just start off with just the welcome. I'm just gonna give you a little bit of background on the street end planning that's happened over the last been around. We're going to talk a little bit about the current concept. We'll do a little what I call speed dating. We're going to break focus on, and it would be great what you're worried about, what your issues are. We're going to do that over at that station, and Vito's going to work on that one. We're going to have an opportunity to talk about hopes and dreams for just waterfront access citywide. We have Lake Steilacoom here, but we also have the map for all of the street ends. We're going to do that right down at the waterfront. And then we're going to talk here about this conceptual plan that was created, and just talk about site improvements, what might work, what might not work, etc. down there. So and then we're going to all come back together. We're going to talk about what everybody talked about at the different stations so that we can make sure everybody's heard what everybody had to say. And then we're going to just talk about next steps. So that's kind of our day. We sort of broke it down for about an hour. Depends on how fast we go. Each session will be about 5 minutes, but it does give us a little time to rotate. So that's our action plan. Does everybody have any questions on that? Pretty straightforward. Okay. So just to start with, like I said, street end planning background. So I've been with the city's 29 years old this year. And hi, welcome. Oh, there's more folks coming down. Oh, hello. So the city's about 29 years old. I've been with the city for 24 years. That's kind of when they started the Park and Recreation Department here. And we've been talking about street for years, right? had people asking and talking about lots of different things. So talk about locating them. Where are they? Last year, or actually the end of 2022, but council started looking at it in 2023, is when we actually took a look at each site and said, if we were going to do something at a site, what might we do? And it was really based on a couple of different things. One was, how big is it? Some of it was the topography of the land, how you might access it. And then, so then we also looked at each land and talked about what's important to the area. One is that the city has a responsibility of doing making stuff ADA accessible. Not all sites are ADA accessible, so the idea is making one site per lake to make sure it's ADA accessible. We really want to focus on, it's called CPTED. It means crime prevention through environmental design. So anything that's built or created, we take a look and make sure that we're not creating problem areas. So the crime prevention through environmental design is things like good sight lines. Like this is problematic because you can't really see what's going on down by the water. There's a lot of invasive plants and things growing on. Part of it is not creating infrastructure that's going to give places for people to hide or sleep or things like that. So that, so, and how it might impact neighbors on either side or down the lake. So that's important to talk about. Making sure that people can get from here to there on the land without doing damage to the land. So that's the improved circulation. The idea is, especially for these smaller areas, is what kind of development would you want to do? And basically it's passive recreation, really inactive development. We're not looking at putting in boat launches. I think someone had said earlier they're concerned there's going to be a boat launch or infrastructure like, you know, a basketball court or a pickleball court or station. We really want to make sure that we're good stewards of the lands. These are street ends. They're city right away. It is public land all the way to the water, and but being good stewards of the land. And so making sure that we're looking at the water quality. Again, looking like using rocks and logs versus you know, different kinds of infrastructure. Getting rid of invasive stuff. You can see stuff growing all over the place and putting in native plants. It's good for the habitat. It's good for the birds and bees and wildlife that's around here. And then just preserving the trees, because of course trees are really important to our community and they create habitat, and also, you know, from climate change, that's good. So we're doing that. One of the things that's important is that in a lot of the street ends, people don't even know that they're public land because some folks have like developed into it or they've covered it up. So it looks more like their yard, or it looks more like it's not passable. And so making sure there's some kind of a marker, not big, but something that lets people know this is a public space, so it's public land. So, hi, good morning. Welcome. Nice to see you. And then one of the other things is how you might address encroachment. There's not really encroachment on this site, so we're fortunate. That was one of the reasons that this site was picked as the pilot project for the city of Lakewood. And so it just makes it easier for development and permitting and things like that. So for those folks that just got here, we're kind of going over the schedule for today. And we would like to have you sign in before the end of today so that we can make sure we're sending you any updates and information. So that's kind of the planning that from street end development. So the city council looked at, there's 12 different street ends. The city council looked at that in 2023, and they
All the
looked
lakes or just this one?
all the lakes, all the street ends.
12 for all of them.
All of them, all 12. Yeah, these are, we just have lakes we're looking here, but there's 12 different lakes, 12 different street ends citywide. There's a map here, and it's also on our website, but there's a map here you can take a look at, and we'll have that conversation down there. And they looked at all of the different street ends to say they want to do a pilot project. It's important. It's about equity. Not everybody has waterfront access. Not everybody has the ability to get on the water easily. There's very little in the city of Lakewood of 64,000 people. There's very little public access to lakes and water throughout the city. So street ends are really important in that way. Plus there's state law that really emphasizes that street ends are important places for the public to be able to access the water. And a street end is basically right of way that goes to the water. I mean, that's the definition of it. So council looked at all the different sites. They talked about all the criteria that was considered as to why you might pick a site, and lucky for you all, this was the site that was selected. And the main reason was we don't have buildings growing into it. We don't have, it's fairly flat. It's being used already. I mean, all of this, you'll see there's chairs down there and the pathways down there. The community is using that for passive recreation. It is accessible. It's wide enough to be able to do something and to really just to create a pilot project. And the main reason for that is as well is that I know that people have fears. I've talked to a few of you already. It's concerning when you're like all of a sudden introducing people that aren't your neighbors that you all know to a place that's, you know, considered open space. And so we want to create a pilot project so that we can talk about how do you develop and manage and maintain an area so that it isn't a challenge for the neighbors. There aren't people, Greg, we've been parking in front of his driveway all day, right? So it's like, how do you create a space so it's not blocking your driveways, that people aren't blocking your mailboxes? They're not leaving, they're not having fires and leaving garbage and things down there. So how do we develop it again so that it's easy to utilize and maintain? So I think, I'm not sure this dude's doing so. Oh, anyway, so they talked about it for a long time. They looked at a lot of criteria and this spot rose to the top. And so that's why council selected this as our pilot project. The timeline for it is, and I'm kind of jumping in next steps just because some people have asked. The idea is we're having this meeting today to listen to you and to hear from you. We have a schematic design that I'll talk about in a few minutes. It's just a picture of a lot of great ideas. It's not a survey. It's not a construction drawing. It's just a it's a drawing of a lot of great ideas. So we're really wanting to hear from you today about, again, what you think about what it looks like now, what some of the ideas are, what you love, what you don't like, what, again, your issues, your concerns, your challenges, and then also just feedback that you might have on waterfront access citywide, because you all have that experience for the community in general. So that's kind of what we're working on. And the idea is spending this year or a good period of this year, putting together a design, and then you have to do construction drawings. You know, if you've done it, then you get permitting, which can take anything on the water within 200 feet, which we are, can sometimes take up to a year. So nothing moves very quickly with these activities. It just depends on what we come up with and then how fast those things can occur. But the idea is Council Blight has put resources towards this to do this work now, to do the real work, like with construction drawings or permitting documents, and then moving forward. So the goal is sometime before, at the end of this year, and it might go into early next year, depending on permitting, to make it happen. So that's kind of the timeline we're looking at.
I'm sorry, end of this year, early next year?
End of this year to get to where everybody's on the same page, and then the permitting. So depending on how long that goes, this year into next year. So it's not a matter of if we're going to be doing it. You know, we've had those conversations for 20 some years. The idea is it's a pilot project, and how can we do it right? So that's kind of where we're at with that. So,
Regarding permitting, those, if you're not removing trees, what permitting is required to remove of the invasive vegetation?
and-
By hand.
yeah, well, anything that happens within 200 feet, even by hand, and in hand is less invasive, is you have to get a shoreline permit. And a shoreline permit makes sure, I think we have one of our friends here, some good volunteers that have come down. What happens is, and you can see this here, some people have gone in and done, you know, like they, you know, doing it for the benefit of the good is like, let's get rid of invasives and let's open this up. When we came the other day, water is running right off the street, right down to the water. And that's erosion. And it's also water quality issues. And so part of it is that even if you're moving invasive, doing it properly, putting in the right material so that it doesn't erode into the water, planting native plants so that it can maybe take over where those invasives were. So even if you're removing invasives on a shoreline area, you have to still follow good shoreline management rules so that you don't have erosion and stuff going into the lake. So, yeah.
I apologize for being late, but
Okay.
one of my questions is, you know, we talked to a lot of people when we were working on the 100th
Uh-huh.
Street. And people's viewpoints were they didn't care if it was like a fine polished park.
Right.
What they wanted is even just to have a picnic table down there and it opened up. But they wanted more than one area open.
Yeah.
Why is it that we can't put in the least amount to still preserve the runoff?
Yeah.
And do more than one part?
Yeah, so and that's a great question. And nobody's saying that we can't. What we're saying is we're trying to work within the capacity that we have, because once we start doing things like that, opening things up and putting in picnic tables, then the city has a responsibility to manage and maintain that. And even if you have good volunteer groups helping and good neighborhood watches, which are important, and the council wants to do that. So we're not saying no, but what we're saying is that you have a very limited, all of the acres and for Silicon Park. And so the idea is that we have to start looking at risk management, access, and concerns regarding if you just create a little path and a picnic table down there, who is coming down there? If you haven't created good sight lines and gotten rid of invasives. So we're not saying everything has to be a beautiful polished area. And there's ways of doing that, but we have to make sure that we're managing it because we don't want to have unexpected consequences. And you know, as we did like on 100th, which was great, people went in there and opened it up, but then there were all of these erosion problems. So now then our staff had to go in there and do a bunch of things because there was erosion and stuff. So we just want to do it right.
The problem that keeps coming up as far as like not having people in there that they wanted to have in there, that has not been happening. I know, but this was over a year ago. This was done.
Well, so what we're
And
gonna, yeah. So,
$50,000 goes a long way.
yeah, I'm
And
not
What is
sure.
maintenance and
It can, but what we're doing now is this is a pilot project. We're going to focus on this as a pilot project and we're going to do breakout to get all that feedback on there. So right now we're focusing on this site today and this is what we're working on. Future developments, we're going to have a station down there. It talks about future access of water, waterfront access. So we can have those conversations during our community gathering input. And it's a work in progress. So it doesn't just happen overnight. We have to manage it properly and efficiently because there's lots of things happening throughout the city and we want to make sure we're doing it right, not just doing it to do it.
so is it that the $450,000 is already allotted to this or can?
It's
that be
allotted
broken
to
up?
to street end project. So it's, for
Okay.
instance, if I do a project and I put, say I put $100,000 because it's a nice round number to do a park somewhere and I spend $75,000, that 25 goes into the next park. It doesn't just go away. And it doesn't mean I have to use every cent that I'm allocated.
Everybody's gonna have to.
So not, my grandpa donated this land to the city.
Well, actually it's public right away. So it was,
Well, no, but originally he donated it. I
Oh.
live right over there. I'm a Weller from Weller Estates and he donated that.
awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
So it's like, what are you doing? It's like, my grandpa for the city.
Yeah,
for-
well, that's good. It's a 2-for-1. We're doing a planning meeting. You're welcome to stick around if you have time today.
I'm down there.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Good, thank you. Yay, Mr. Weller. That's good. Okay, so yeah,
Can't do. Sometimes it's just that that's the access. It's the problem. You can't even see it because there's too much vegetation.
I
So
agree.
some-
Sure, yeah, weed whacking probably isn't gonna create erosion, but creating a maintenance plan is part of all of this, right? And before and after. So yeah, absolutely. And weed whacking takes the top off too, and it's pulling all the stuff out. But then like right now, we came down 2 days ago and it's like there's lots of piles of stuff here. So, how can that get cleaned up? So we're gonna talk about big picture today. We're gonna talk about details of issues, concerns, ideas. And then part of volunteer groups doing other spaces is going to be considered, not necessarily bring it up, but not necessarily solved today. And then again, what's appropriate maintenance to do at the sites that aren't developed and putting a package together, working with our planning and public works group that does the shoreline rules and requirements. Because again, anytime you're within 200 feet, you're supposed to be following the shoreline maintenance plan. So putting those together. So if volunteer groups are being brought in to do things, they know what they can and do, what they're not supposed to be doing. We can make sure people are trained appropriately, that there's good risk management. Again, there's a lot more than just weed whacking that happens.
What's happening with the 100th Street in right now?
Nothing,
Nothing.
yeah. There's nothing happening right now.
Can I ask- so what are the encroachments that's happening on these properties?
So encroachments are an issue that the city deals with once they figure them out. We're not going around and looking at encroachments. So one of the reasons this site was selected, as I said earlier, was because there aren't really encroachments on this property. But encroachments are dealt with
There are
one-on-one.
encroachments.
Well, we haven't done a survey yet, so we'll determine that at this point. So as we do our due diligence, but encroachments that occur on different areas, on different properties really get addressed when we start looking at what we're going to do with that site, like a street development or a park development or an area. So we're aware of encroachments on 100th now. So then the next step is to negotiate with the owner and the city, because you can't give away public land. We can't. It's a gift of public funds. It's against the law to do that. So then how do you negotiate so that it's as much of a win-win? So sometimes that means buying right of way. We buy right of way all the time when we do projects. Sometimes we have to get the right of way back when we do projects because someone's been using it for a while. But even on the street ends, and on some of these,
Refund the taxes they've been paying for 30 years.
well, that if they've been paying taxes for 30 years, well, actually they should be paying the city because they're using right of way. Yeah, that's not, they haven't been paying to use the right of way or to use city land, because again, it's public property. So, but that's a bigger conversation for today than what we're covering. So we're gonna divide up into groups. So do you want to divide up from your partner, or you can stay with your partners? But we've got, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 2, 4, 6, 8. So about 30 people. So we're gonna do about 10 people per group. So, okay, raise your hand if you want me to count 1 to 10 and move that group, or if you want to divide up and maybe have a silent conversation, your partner can hear. What do you want to do? Yeah, we've got stuff for each thing. We talked about that before you got here. So you just have to follow the leader when you're on there. So, okay, you're gonna come. Okay, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, we're only having 3, so so you can be jealous.
I don't understand we just got here. And I just have to say. I don't have time. I just come to you.
So why don't we divide it up? Okay. 1,
You want us to describe?
Yes.
Uh,
So if we can have at least 2 parks, advisory board members, I'll hand you this, 2 agendas, so that you can have that with you.
One,
You can head down.
2.
Well, I'm gonna go
Good.
with you. and
Oh,
then Mary and
That's perfect.
Okay, so this is gonna be table number 1.
Take
And this
with
is
you
gonna be
and
talking
maybe a
about the current,
packet.
and you're gonna go to all of them, because we're
Okay,
gonna speed.
Just in
read.
case you
This
need.
is number
And then where do you want me to
This is
scribe?
number
On
2.
this?
You can scribe right up.
There.
Over some paper.
And then number 3 is down at the water, Vito. Number 2.
2
Challenges.
challenges? Yes.
Here, this-
Challenge is this site, okay?
Vito.
Yeah. And we're gonna do a 5-minute planning, and then when you hear this, we're gonna give you time to change to the next thing. Okay. So let's get organized here. So Divya. Here's an agenda. Okay. It's really super organized here. It's okay.
Yeah. No.
Did you tell Vito we're doing it for 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay,
Let me grab this paper and hand it to him.
perfect. Okay, then we're gonna come on back. Okay, I'm gonna get a timer so that I know it sounds crazy, but it works. Okay. And 5. Okay. So what we're gonna do here is, come on, gather around. Oh, I was gonna talk about this. I forgot. That's okay. So this is really, it's a light layout. We have Sharpies here and we're interested in, you're welcome to write on here or do anything else. I kind of wanted to go over real quick, which I should have done for everybody. Sorry, but this is like, again, this is like a master plan. Or it's just a drawing. Master plan is just a drawing of big ideas, and it's based on all the feedback that we got from other meetings throughout the last several years. So what you see here is the end of this is right here. You are here. The idea is to fix the asphalt here so that it's a good drivable flat surface, creating a parking spot here, an ADA accessible parking spot, because this actually can be made ADA accessible to the water. This is just a little marker like that says, you know, public space or trail. Creating just a little pathway down to the water, switch back, getting rid of invasives, adding natives, putting in a little picnic area, and then just kind of establishing a little shoreline area here that isn't just kind of a drop off. So using rocks and maybe a little retainage if we need to get the wall up. So that's kind of it. And you can see some of these things. So this is, you're going to have challenges and concerns there. So you can write all those things that you don't like about it or that you're concerned about it, but what are your ideas about developing this space? Like, what are some of your thoughts or what you'd like to see happen regarding this space? Okay, I'm gonna, more than one, I'm just gonna write this here.
So I can start writing as well.
Okay,
Have to address a very personal concern
Yeah.
to the property.
Yeah.
This is the only road access to this property right here.
right, driveway,
Needs to be a 10-foot access right here.
Sure. driveway. Yep, got it. Perfect.
I'm over here, so you can mark it right there too.
Driveway?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's my
okay.
driveway.
Yeah,
So how many feet is that across, do you know?
60 feet is
60
the right
feet.
of way.
Okay. So the two things that we heard that people wanted to use it the most for
Uh-huh.
is kayaking.
Kayaking.
So there has to be a way, if it's deeper here, then, you know, a way for them to get in. It's only that deep?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
kayaking,
kayaking and then family. It needs to be family.
family friendly.
Is there gonna be some kind of like a deck or something you can fish off of?
We don't have that, but we can write fishing if you want. Fishing is something we get asked about all the time. There's that out right here. Making sure there's a driveway for whoever's gonna develop that. That's what he said is,
Develop what? Over here?
no, he's saying, no, that your, whoever lives there.
We live here.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
what
yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah, he said that he wanted to make sure there was, access to a driveway when, for access to the property. That's what he said. That's why we wrote that right
Yeah,
there.
'cause we don't want it.
Hi, everybody. I know that's a hard one to get down.
Yeah, that's right.
They're working their way down, so let's just push it.
Well,
a few
it's,
minutes.
I have the people come back up.
Yeah, they're.
We're here.
We're all here. Okay. Did we lose a few people?
So what's your name?
I'm Mary. Hi, yeah.
Hi, I'm Veda Van Gaskin. Nice to meet you.
Beta, nice to see you. Thanks. Okay, so this is the table where we're gonna talk about. Well, we had it posted and we sent you a letter saying we're doing, yeah, so no, we're glad that
but
you're
I
here.
was-
Yes.
I was-
Relax, here we are. So here's what we do, and I apologize when I was supposed to go over sort of what the development was that we, or that, and again, this isn't a construction drawing, it's really just a picture of great ideas. So I'm gonna kind of quickly show you what I'm gonna turn it this way for you, so it's up your way. So I'll show you real quick sort of what the intent is here. And again, what we're looking for is what you like or what you want to see change. So just from a development perspective, this is the end of the road right here. The idea is to fix this asphalt so that it's an accessible area. This is the site, the site on the of the area to put in one parking spot, which will be an ADA accessible parking lot or parking spot. This is just to like show like a post that says
Is it-
public land.
Would this be right there or?
There's no, I haven't done the survey yet, but mostly it's just to clean this area up for asphalt. It could be fix it all the way up to here, right? Because it's kind of challenging.
Right.
And the right of way goes 60 feet. So the idea is this would be an ADA accessible, just a pathway to get down to the water. Looks at getting rid of the invasives, keeping the trees, putting in a picnic table. And then creating some kind of a space down there that would just enhance the usability of that shoreline area.
One thing I was curious about is they planning on putting sand?
It's just to create an area, whether it's what's already there or establishing, just so that it's a little bit of a usable space. So,
The idea isn't for like swim, I mean, because it gets very cobbly very quick,
right,
which of it's.
yeah.
the problem.
It's yeah. So the idea is, would you like to see sand there or just rocks or
Yeah.
something a little easier?
Personally, I like the rocks, but I mean.
I like
kid-
the rocks too.
but-
Well,
Yeah.
what's the impact, again, what's the impact to the lake by doing?
Right.
Right,
That's
because when
true.
the water
And I
goes
have
up
no
and
idea.
down, then it
Exactly.
kind of,
Right.
so, but anyway.
Wait.
Yeah, so the idea here is
Yeah.
creating rocks
I was just
or,
curious.
or logs
Sure.
just to sit on, just to have it be plain, but,
Okay. I got you.
yeah. So then what we kind of heard from some folks before, again, is that to access this property, there needs to be, make sure that there's access to it for a driveway, this gentleman as well. Some talked about, could it have a gate to lock up? What is the condition of the trees? Some look healthy, some look not as healthy. We talked about making sure that whatever we do is family friendly, so adults and kids. People like to kayak. There's a gentleman here that said he kayaks. And he's got a big kayak, and so he said this would be hard to get it down here. Could there be a straight shot too? Is there gonna be room for fishing? It'd be nice to have a platform or something to fish. And more than one picnic table. So what are your, park hours, making sure that it's considered a park,
Shut it down.
that there's rules and that, so people know what you can and can't do down here. So,
Big caveat here is parking.
so is that more, you'd like to see more parking? Well, it's right of way, so.
Well, you don't want parked in your area, do you?
I think
If they're provided parking,
designating,
they'd be less likely to.
no,
intrude on your
what,
place.
Where to
where you're allowed to park, because it's people's property,
Yeah.
are you parking on?
So you don't
Big
block
property.
driveways, you don't block, well, even today Greg was here and we constantly were blocking his mailbox. So
Oh,
part of it is creating,
Oh,
so
yeah,
we'll
I
just
know, I
make
was
sure,
unaware.
let people know where.
We have one
So
like that on American.
this is like, is there encouragement into city land? Just I'm looking here and there's grass coming out. Well, is that city land or? is
Yeah, the
that
right of way, 60 feet is,
Trying to
60
keep
feet
people
from
out.
the center of this
Six,
city land.
6-0 out?
60 feet.
60 feet from the
So
middle.
like that truck is probably in the right of way.
Okay,
And so if it hasn't moved, then it's not, 60 feet total, 30 each way. I'm sorry, that wasn't
thank you.
clear. Yeah,
So the grass over on that side is actually is. public
could be,
land.
could be. Yeah, we'll survey the land. So we need a survey to,
It's all going on American.
it could.
Yeah.
It's really, because it's such an established area, you can't just assume that the center of the road is the center of the road, so you would survey it. So a surveyor.
For themselves, they sold that one off.
Survey to determine, I'll write that.
I gather
Maybe parking is set at
Yeah,
angles.
yeah, I work with the city of Lakewood. Huh?
So maybe if there is parking, there's enough space, you could not do it straight like this, but this.
So,
Too much pushback over there.
so what are also your ideas? We're talking about this site right now. What are your ideas? Fishing, you're fishing, yes, okay. Other ideas?
And this will be, won't be concrete.
No,
It,
they were saying.
Skateboarding could be an issue that was pavement.
Said it was maybe gonna be like small gravels.
probably compacted gravel, could be asphalt. We haven't determined this material yet, but the idea is you're concerned about skateboarding. Because what,
Yes,
Just for
and what's the
selfish point of
concern?
view,
Tell me what the concern is.
The noise for me.
it
Noise?
was a local person was complaining about, concerned about that.
Right, but tell me what the
Oh, what
concern
the
is,
issue is?
because skateboarding and bike riding are pretty conventional, cheap form of transportation. So, but what's the
Well,
concern?
there's a safety issue for people who are using that pathway. the
Safety, okay.
safe-
Shared use?
Mhm. I mean, I don't want bicycles using it either. It should be just,
Well, it's a pretty, yeah,
I don't know how wide that is, so.
probably it would be 6 feet for ADA access, probably like a path, it'd just be like a path. But
Does
we
it
haven't
say-
determined them.
Yeah.
Right now, the idea is just, there was, in this, it looks like just one ADA parking spot, but there was a gentleman that said he brings his kayak in a truck. And if you're not, yeah, and if you're not so maybe more than one parking lot. More than one spot. And if not here for the access, maybe along the side, just like you said, established so you know where to park. If somebody said that.
And we have a canoe and a kayak, so we have both issues of trying to get done.
Mhm. And I'm gonna write establish areas. So folks know, that's okay. Where? Whoops. I'm not for that. Why don't we stick those in here? 'Cause we don't need those.
What is the city doing to notify folks that there is even public access? So it's so often I hear my neighbors saying, really, we have public access?
Yeah, so we're right now, we did the study to figure out where are the street ends. So we have 12 in the city that we've established. And so, our idea is they're on a map and they're public space, so anybody can access them. But we're not creating, putting big signs up, hey, come here, until we really can manage the site. Because otherwise you're just creating risk management issues and safety issues. And so that's why we want to do it properly so that we can manage and maintain the sites, not just say, hey, free show, everybody go. I have one question. Yeah. Once you all start, cleaning it up. Mhm.
So we think height, perimeter, vegetation.
I beg your pardon?
Is not
What about the defense?
So
I
fence?
have fencing.
Yeah.
they talked about.
Yeah, they said there is a.
Plan.
Fencing.
City to build fencing.
Yeah, I'll just
Yeah,
right here.
But
Well,
it's, the fencing that you'd be creating is more for what purpose?
just being a good neighbor. So you're setting boundaries so
For the
people know,
property owner.
for the property owners, so people know, so you're not
There's
encroaching.
fences there already, that's why I was
Yeah.
curious.
It's just part of the planning. Yeah, it's just, yeah, so I wrote fencing and fencing because
Okay.
we want to be good neighbors. I mean, typically when we do, depends on the site. You want to be a good neighbor and it might look differently depending on the location and what happens on the type of fencing or vegetation or boundaries. So anyway, I just wrote fencing because right now, like I said, we haven't determined materials or that, but it's like, that's important. And I think that makes sense. Yeah. Good.
If everybody's gonna be walking, doesn't it pay, to help pay for the, lake to be treated for weeds?
Yeah. Yeah, like, yeah, we do. We're actually the biggest contributor to the Lake Stilican Management Association.
Bigger than the landowners around the lake?
Yes, yeah, because we own more linear feet with Edgewater Park and the street ends. We pay,
So
everybody
you
pays,
pay-
everybody pays a linear foot charge
Mhm.
and we pay linear feet for the city property. Yeah. We're actually the largest contributor to that. For whatever they.
As an individual,
As a
because each
person.
individual of the person has.
Correct, but the city owns more linear feet than
Total?
I think any other single
Oh,
resident.
resort, yeah.
Yeah.
Single
But it's all,
resident.
everybody pays the same fee. Everybody pays the same rate, so.
That group needs a little bit more time to get up here, so I'm gonna start
Oh,
giving them a heads up.
Okay,
just-
yeah.
And then,
what's the other, I'm
okay,
sorry.
no, go ahead.
The other lady, she lives right there and she has German Shepherds and she's worried that people are gonna let their dogs come down, which they do. They let their dogs swim.
So rules,
But I mean, I'm not saying no
That's rural.
dogs. I'm just saying.
Horses
well, right now, the
You
city
swap.
has a rule that no dogs are to be off leash unless you're in the
In the
off leash
other-
part. So